Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verses 26 to 30.
न बुद्धिभेदं जनयेत् अज्ञानां कर्मसङ्गिनां जोषयेत् सर्वकर्माणि विद्वान् युक्तः समाचरन् प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणैः कर्माणि सर्वशः अहङ्कारविमूढात्मा कर्ताहमिति मन्यते तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्मविभागयोः गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्ते इति मत्वा न सज्जते प्रकृतिर्गुणसम्मूढाः सज्जन्ते गुणकर्मसु तान् कृत्स्नविदो मन्दान् कृत्स्नविन्न विचालयेत् मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः.
So from verse number 25 till 35 of this chapter 3, Sri Krishna talks about the technique of right action, and the actual technique of right action is given in shloka number 30. From 25 to 29, which you have seen so far, he talks about the wise person and the unwise person. We should now recollect what we studied in the previous chapter 2 also, especially from verses 11 to 30. And then he talked about Karma Yoga in nutshell there itself, from verse number 45 to 53. So we got to recollect all this. In 11 to 30 in chapter 2, he talked about Atma, Anatma, Viveka, the discrimination between Atma and Anatma, the self and the non-self, the self and Jiva, Atma and Jivatma. So, wise person knows that his or her original nature is Atma, which is Akarta. The unwise person do not know this. They identify with Prakriti Guna. He talks about this in these shlokas. In the sense, the Atma that is manifested through vasanas and through thoughts and desires, it's now manifested as the Jiva, the individual, the body, mind, intellect, sense complex. You understand? So the unwise understands themselves to be this. So what is the world made up of? World is made up of gunas that is manifested from Prakriti. What is the individual made up of? Gunas manifested from Prakriti. So gunas deal with gunas. They get involved in the world. They get attached. Why do they get attached? Because they do not have the knowledge of the self. Atma. And they continue in the world. You cannot disturb them. You should not disturb them. It is very important that the wise man does not unsettle the ignorant. See, the fruit, when it is raw, it doesn't detach from the tree. When it ripens, slowly it gathers weight and it starts detaching. So, in the world, majority of us will be quoting Artha, Kama, and Dharma. Dharma itself is, the number of people who quote Dharma will be less compared to Artha and Kama. Majority will be Artha, Kama. Then Dharma, Punya, and all that. Then only you understand all these are not the real goal. And the real goal is moksha, liberation. And that is possible only through knowledge. If that is possible only through knowledge, I need to gain the knowledge for which now I have to become jnana yogyata. I have to qualify to gain that knowledge. So therefore, I need to do karma yoga. I can't escape from karma yoga. This much understanding should be there. And therefore, even a relative jnani, if not absolute jnani meaning self-realized enlightened soul, a relative jnani also understands that it took me so many years to understand that Artha, Kama, Dharma is not the real goal. So many years, janmas, I've been thinking these are the goals. This is what I need to pursue. So I was misunderstanding enjoyments to be happiness. And it took me a long while when the nature, while I'm acting in the world, gives me knocks and shocks. Then slowly, this Jivatma, which is like raw fruit, will slowly starts ripening, maturing, understanding that these are not the goal. So they have to be there. If you go and tell them, what are you doing in the world, man? Unnecessarily wasting your time, pursuing all these things. All these things will not come with you. All these kind of lectures, if you give, the problem is instead of from Rajas moving to Sattva, the person will fall back into Tamas. Laziness will creep everywhere. In fact, that is one danger of making this knowledge available to anybody and everybody. This should not be given to anybody and everybody. Only to the qualified few. Till then, let them be in the world. Let them go through the rigors of life. Let them struggle. Let them run after wealth, enjoyment, everything. Nothing wrong in it. Only thing you keep telling them, earn them dharmically. You understand? You should pursue the wealth and everything dharmically. Then there will come a time where they will understand that I need to dedicate it for something higher. I should not just be running. There is a nature in me, the Swadharma in me, duty is there, nature is there. I align them for something higher. Till then they will continue. Should not disturb them. Because it is not going to help them evolve. It's not going to help the society nor the individual. Therefore, the wise person will have to keep quiet. Keeping quiet doesn't mean the wise person will not do action. The wise person continues doing action, making it attractive to the unwise. As they see the wise person slowly, and they're also going through the knocks and shocks of life. And this will help them slowly turn towards the higher. They will be able to detach from just quoting wealth, enjoyment, punya, papa, etc. So they will understand all this slowly. You have to give them time. So therefore he says, the wise person should not unsettle the minds of the ignorant. And in the last shloka that we saw last week, verse 29, he says, those deluded by the gunas. Prakrite guna sammudaha. This Prakriti guna, I keeps on talking about. What is this? This is nothing but body, mind, sense complex with which the unwise is attached. Sajjante guna karmasu. And therefore they are involved in the activities of the world. Tana kritsna vido vida. Tana kritsna vidaha. Vidaha means tan akritsna vidaha. Means those of imperfect knowledge. See, he doesn't say those who are ignorant. Those who are of imperfect knowledge. Tan akritsna vidaha. This is also very important to understand. If you are completely ignorant, it's a different story. But if you have got wrong understanding, it's a problem. You have got wrong understanding now that you are this jiva, such a person. You are this body, mind, intellect complex. You are this limited individual. So, therefore, such a person, he addresses them as one with imperfect knowledge. Mandan. Mandan means dull-witted. The intellect's discriminating ability is not great. They go by what they observe, what they see. They are not able to penetrate and see the truth. Right? So, they take this body, mind, intellect complex to be themselves. Such persons are called akritsna vidaha mandan, means dull-witted. It's not an attack on a person. It is, the word is used to make us understand that they are not thinking deeply. And what should be the person who thinks correctly do? Kritsna with na vichalayet, he says. The person who has perfect knowledge, perfect understanding, who knows that I am Atma. Even if he realize the self and knows it in a sense, at least having reflected enough from the Shastras and having got Shraddha, should not unsettle the minds of the ignorant people. Because it's neither going to help them nor the society. So don't force them. Let them slowly evolve. So that's all he's saying here. Therefore, the wise person should never unsettle the unwise who's attached to action. Then what should the wise person do? Continue doing the action properly. He should continue executing action. How should he execute the action? What is the technique of right action? What is the blueprint of ideal action that he talks about in verse number 30? Let's get on to shloka number 30.
मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशीर्निर्ममो भूत्वा युध्यस्व विगतज्वरः.
This again is a very important shloka. So if one can put in some effort and memorize these shlokas, it's helpful. This is helpful. It's not very difficult to memorize also. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. This. In the first line, he starts by saying, Mai karma, sarvani karmani sanyasya. Sarvani karmani means all actions. Sanyasya, having renounced all actions. In what? Mai, in me. Whenever a person like Sri Krishna, enlightened person, talks using me to address themselves, they are not talking about this body, mind, intellect complex. Because they are of clear understanding, perfect knowledge. They know that they are essentially Atma. And they know that everyone is also essentially Atma. And they also understand that others they don't know that they are Atma. So he says, in me means in the self, renouncing all actions in me. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. See, when he's talking about the technique of right action, he's talking about sannyas. So it's very interesting. He's saying renouncing all actions in me. And then Adhyatma Chetasa. Adhyatma Chetasa means thoughts resting on the self. Thoughts resting on the self. And then he says Nirashi. Nirashi means without hope, without expectations. Nirmamaha, without attachment, without mindness. Nirashi nirmamo bhutva. Yutyasva, fight. Fight how? Vigata jwaraha. Vigata jwaraha means without fever. And the fever we should understand as mental fever, not physical fever. You understand? So what is he saying? Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. Then adhyatma chetasa. Nirashi. Nirmamaha. Yudhyasva vigata jwaraha. Rashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva, fight vigata jwaraha. So two things we have to take. Sanyasya yudhyasva. It's very interesting. Right? You have to renounce also, you have to fight also. You say, listen, be clear. Should I renounce or should I fight? Fight in the context means action, challenges, duty. Arjuna happened to be the Kshatriya. His nature is also Kshatriya, his duty is also of Kshatriya. And he is in the battlefield. So there, his duty there right now on the battlefield is to fight. So fight means duty. The obligatory duties, right? Challenges of life. That's what fight means. And then he is also saying sanyasya. And what kind of sanyasya? Sarvani karmani sanyasya. If all actions have to be renounced, what about fighting? Should I not be renouncing fighting? But immediately when he says, having renounced fight, then obviously he's not saying renounce fighting, renounce duty. So then what am I supposed to renounce? So he's saying, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. In me. That's why that Mai is also important. In me. In me means the self. Self is everyone's essential nature. Atma. So, when the self functions through this Jagat, with reference to Jagat, you use the word Ishvara. So, renounce all actions in me, meaning renounce all actions in the Ishvara, in the Lord, in the self. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. Intellect always maintaining the awareness of the self, of the Lord. What is the role the Lord plays with reference to action? We have seen it before. The self with reference to action, what is the role it plays? The self with reference to action plays the role of petrol in a car, enlivening, right? So when you identify with the self, with your intellect, you remain objective to the action without getting involved. So the intellect pitches the goal of the higher self. Higher self is my goal. I must enlighten myself, realize this goal, become one with Atma ultimately. And relatively, for that, I need to shed the vasanas. So I pitch up a higher goal, something beyond my selfish, self-centered interest. Okay. So whenever we say goal in Vedanta, ideal in Vedanta, it is something beyond your self-centered, selfish interest. So you pitch up a higher goal using the intellect, and to that goal, highest is self, Atma. To that goal, your mind must surrender. When you act, you should not act fulfilling merely your likes and dislikes, your egocentric desires. You should do what is to be done by you for that goal. Ishvara is from another angle when you look at Ishvara. Ishvara is the one who is maintaining all the laws. How is this universe functioning? Everybody has different nature. Now, let's say, for example, you are a doctor. Your nature is medicine. You are in medical field. But to diagnose what is wrong with the patients, you need equipments. And when something goes wrong with that equipments, you need an engineer to come and service it. So doctor is needed for, if something goes wrong in the engineer, the doctor is needed to check what is wrong with his body or mind. Then when the equipments go wrong, doesn't function properly, doctor needs the engineer. So everybody has certain nature. We must understand where I am. I should not say, I don't like to do this, like that individuality should not come there. I should surrender to the total plan. That's what it means. My individuality should surrender to the totality. Thy will be done, not my will be done. I align myself with the higher. That is what it means when he says, Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. Intellect pitches up the goal and the mind surrenders to that goal. Right? And adhyatma chetasa means what? While the mind has surrendered to the goal, means what? Doesn't bring in the personal likes and dislikes. Just looks at what is to be done. What has to be done? That will be done. I may personally not benefit out of it. He already said that before. Doesn't matter. But in the interest of the total, it has to be done. That is called Sarvani Karmani Sanyasya. Mayi Sarvani Karmani Sanyasya. And Adhyatma Chetasa, intellect. So when intellect watches the mind, surrendering it like this, it maintains all actions in that direction. That is called consistency. When consistently all actions are directed towards that particular goal that is pitched up, it gathers power, isn't it? Through sunlight, through lens, when the sunlight is pointed on a piece of paper, the entire energy is focused on the paper. It burns the paper. It gathers power. So intellect, identifying with the Atma, maintaining objectivity, controls and directs the mind to not fall into selfish conveniences and do all actions in that direction towards the higher goal or towards the self. Understanding that I am a spoke in the wheel of life. So he already said fight, yudyasva, means do actions dynamically. So thus when you function, this is called ideal action. Ideal action will generate energy. There are two things that are very, very important points to be noted in an ideal action. First one is ideal action generates energy. Right? Now, second aspect is it doesn't dissipate energy in the lower channels. It prevents the energy from dissipating in the lower channel. So, ideal action means it should generate energy. First of all, compared to a tamasic fellow who doesn't act, remains inactive, an active person will have more energy. You will see more life in that person. Then the problem is when we say active person, if he is unwise and attached, then he will be result oriented, which is what is being discussed in the second line. The dissipation of that energy happens. So, ideal action may dissipation also should not happen. So, when you give the higher goal, the greater the goal, the greater the energy. The more selfish, self-centered, the lesser the energy and a lot of dissipation happens. So he says, Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamaha and vigata jwaraha. Dyasva, we have already seen. So first thing what he's saying, the positive aspect is what? Intellect must pitch a higher goal and be aware of that goal and direct all actions towards that goal. Second point, mind must surrender to that goal, meaning keep aside the selfish likes and dislikes, convenience, all that you keep aside. Do what is right in the context. That is called mind surrendering to the goal. Then body must act dynamically towards that goal. That is what is represented by yudyasva. So these three we have seen. Now what else to be seen? Nirashir, nirmama, vigata jwaraha. So nirashir means what? Without expectations, without hope. Without hope does not mean when you are acting, you should hopelessly function. Without hope means while doing the action, your mind should not be slipping into thinking about the results. Expecting result, don't do. That's why I said, for a highly evolved soul, the result that may come out of it is irrelevant. You understand? The fact that he or she is doing that action is firstly because they love doing it. It is their nature, it is their swadharma. And secondly, in the context, that is their duty. So in a context, I may be son or a father or a teacher. Accordingly, I have certain obligations. So I understand that. I don't give in to my personal likes and dislikes. And the fact that a person who's evolved highly, the results that may come out of it may be nothing. So he may not be even thinking about it. Even if someone who is interested in the result, that time when you are acting, Your mind should be controlled from slipping into the future result. The intellect plays the role there. So intellect must control the mind from slipping into the future, the result, the fruit. And mama means this mamakara, the mind, mamatvam. This is nothing but ego. And ego is nothing but the memories of the past. We always, we say, Pata hai mera baap kaun? My baap? You know who's my father? You know what is my qualification? You know what is my parampara? You know what are my achievements? So, ego is nothing but memories of the past. So, he's saying, using the intellect, you should clip the mind from slipping into the past worries while doing the action. And you should clip the mind from slipping into the future result while acting. Remember this. And vigata jwaraha. While acting, there may be mental fever of doing, feverish, sense of doership. I have to complete this. I'm doing, please. I hope this nobody comes and disturbs, that feverish doing, excitement in the present. So the intellect should clip the worries of the past, anxieties of the future, and excitement in the present. Fever means that mental stress, isn't it? As if I'm fighting and I have to achieve that rajas comes in. Like when some foreign body attacks our body, then there is fighting going on. So the body temperature raises. It's called fever, no? The body temperature raises and it fights the foreign bodies. Isn't it? So it is good actually. When something coming in from outside, the body is fighting. So it raises the temperature. So we have to fight without raising the temperature, he said. That's why he says, without fever, without getting involved. Right? So we should not renounce fighting. We should not renounce action. We should do action with this, in this way. So which are the channels through which our energy gets dissipated? It gets dissipated through worries of the past, anxieties of the future, and excitement in the present. Child lives in the present. Tremendous energy is there in children. We slip into past worries and future anxiety. Therefore, we lack energy. When we were children, we also had energy, tremendous energy. As we are becoming older and older, slowly getting involved, we lose energy. So, ideal action should generate energy and control and prevent the dissipation of energy in the unproductive channels. So this is what he's saying. Now, when we clearly read this, we should understand when he says, don't have hope, don't be attached to the future, don't be anxious of the future, and don't be worried about the past. He's not saying, don't plan for the future, don't learn from the past, and don't execute action in the present. He's not saying that. You get it? This is where a lot of people misunderstand all these things and then misquote and say, like, Gita will teach you to become lazy, lethargic. So what he's saying, learning from the past is an is a conscious action executed by the intellect. Remember this. Learning from the past is a conscious action executed by the intellect. The intellect is taking the mind to the past to learn. This happens in the present. Similarly, intellect takes the mind to the future consciously, and that is called planning. Isn't it? You project, you have to go somewhere, you plan. If I book my ticket well in advance, it might be cheaper. And I might get the seats that I want. So you plan. So planning is what? Intellect taking your mind consciously to the future in the present. This is a present action. Planning and learning both are not to be stopped. But when we do, the excitement comes once I'm involved that I am doing. If you have got the knowledge which we have studied so far, you understand that you are not the karta. The wise man understands that I am not the karta. So objectively, he or she executes the action. Even if things don't go as per plan, they have plan A, plan B, plan C. And even if all plans fail, they won't get dejected. They'll learn from the failure and they move on. Because they are not having the jwara. Their interest is in doing. They have surrendered. The result is given by Ishvara. We have already seen that. Karmaniyeva adhikaraha mahabhaleshu kadachana. We studied all that now. In the previous chapter, 47th shloka, chapter 2. So, what is in my control? Only doing the action. So I do my action. So with all these things taken care of, then the result will come. There is some slight possibility due to certain reasons. The result may not be as I expect, as it should have been. Right? Because of certain factors which was not in my control. So it doesn't perturb me, disturb me. This is how you have to do the action. This is called ideal action. First, action should have a goal, not act without a goal. Right? And the goal means something beyond selfish, self-centered interest, something higher. And understand that Atma is a non-doer and the results are given according to actions and so many other factors by Ishvara. So I surrender all that. I may have certain personal expectations out of certain action, but I keep aside all that. That's called surrendering. So, fixing the goal, being objective, and directing all actions towards the goal. The role played here is by the intellect. Then the mind is controlled by the intellect, so the mind doesn't give in to the personal likes and dislikes, conveniences, and aligns with the intellect goal pitched. So it does all the actions that needs to be done, even though it may not be convenient for oneself, and goes about functioning. So when that happens, tremendous energy flows. Because, why? Because the obstacle in the form of aham karta is removed. When you make sure that nirmama, nirashi is all taken care of. So then what happens? Aham karta, I am doing, I have to achieve this, I have to get the name, fame. Just be an instrument in the hands of total. Then you will be relaxed, calm, composed, serene while doing the action. This is what is called being balanced when doing. So, while doing the action, your mind should not slip to future. That doesn't mean you should not plan. While doing the action, your mind should not go into the past. That doesn't mean you don't learn from the past. See, remember, when he says mind should not go to the past, by itself when the mind goes, without the control of the intellect, that dissipates energy. By itself, when the mind goes to the future, while doing the action, that dissipates the energy. But when the intellect takes it, when it's a present action, that doesn't dissipate the energy. We need to understand the difference. This is very important. So, intellect pitches up the goal, mind surrenders to that goal, and the body acts dynamically towards that goal, clipping the worries of the past, anxieties of the future, and excitement in the present. So when you clip the worries of the past, anxieties of the future, and excitement in the present, that is called concentration. You are concentrating in the present action. While doing the action, your energies are not getting dissipated. Your intellect is directing it towards the action, all your energy in what is to be done. It's called concentration. So when the mind surrenders and all actions are directed towards the chosen goal by the intellect, that is called consistency. You understand? These are very important aspects in achieving success. Concentration, consistency. And vigata jwaraha, without excitement you work. When will the excitement come? As if I am the one who's doing, I am the one responsible for the result, I have to achieve this, I am doing, I am the one doing the action and I need recognition. I hope I will get the result. All these things, when they are there, what will happen? You are shifting the attention towards you without understanding that the role played by many others also goes into deciding your success and failure. Right? So there is lacking cooperation. An egoistic person doesn't cooperate with the total. He is thinking about himself only. He puts himself above everyone else. He thinks his role is something great. You understand? So cooperation also suffers. When these three aspects, which are very important for success, suffers, how will you be successful? How can your action be right action? Already he said, Karmani eva adhikaraha ma phaleshu kadachana. Because today's action becomes tomorrow's result. If you are not doing the right action, tomorrow's result will also be not success, it will be failure. If you take care of all these things, what are they? Concentration, consistency, and cooperative endeavor. You understand, so many people are there. Their roles are also there. All that put together is taken care of by Ishvara. So I surrender. With that bhav, when you function, you are having cooperation, consistency, and concentration. These are called the 3 C's of success. These 3 have to be there in your action. The attitude of cooperation, when your mind is focused by the intellect in the present action, it's concentration. When all your actions are focused towards the chosen goal, it is consistency. See, this we need to know the difference. What is concentration? Mind by itself going towards something is not concentration. Isn't it? You ask a teenager, he's all the time thinking about a girl, he's fallen in love, he's attached. So you ask him, I'm concentrating on that girl. Would that become concentration? Mind itself is going. That is not concentration. When the mind is kept on that present action by the intellect, that is concentration. And then when all your actions are directed towards the chosen goal by the intellect, that is called consistency. All actions you have to be consistent, not in one or two. Wherever your mind likes those actions which are aligned with the goal, you will be consistent. What about the other things? If you are a cricketer, there has to be the surrender. Any sportsman, for that matter, any profession. I'm just giving the example of a sportsman. They very often you see some cricketer or some sportsman is pulled up by the manager. They listen, you will not play the next match. Why? Because this fellow nicely sneaks out of the room, goes for a night party, sleeps very late, and may not attend the training session in the morning or come late for the training session. The coach will say, listen, you're not playing next match. They take disciplinary action. Why? Because he's not consistent. If you have not had good sleep previous day, how will you play the next day properly? In all actions, you have to be consistent. That is called dedication. That is called devotion. That is called surrender. You understand? I have a goal around which my life is designed. In the book Vedanta Treatise, Swamiji gives a nice example. He says, there was an archer who competed in Olympics and won gold medal. And he is going to his village. After winning the gold medal, he came back to his country and then he was going to the village to show the gold medal and everything to his grandparents and all that. So while he landed in the city, and then from there he was going in a car towards his village, he saw on either side of the road in the compounds, some one man's picture was posted with his achievements written there. He hits bullseye 100 out of 100. That is what was written on the compound wall. So this guy said, I'm an Olympic champion. I myself hit it only 98 or 97 out of 100, or maybe 95 out of 100. How is this man hitting 100 out of 100? Why he is not competing in Olympics? He would have won the gold medal. So he was very much interested in meeting that man before going and meeting his grandparents. So he said, please go to that gentleman's house. So he went there. He prostrated to him and said, sir, I'm nothing compared to what your achievements. I'm an Olympic medal holder, gold medal holder, but nothing. I'm only 95, 97 out of 100. You are 100 out of 100. So please teach me the technique. You are shooting 100 out of 100. You please teach me the technique. He said, listen, I'll teach you the technique. You seem to be very interested and devoted also. But then you may go and tell the secret to somebody else. I'm worried about it. He said, sir, I'll promise you, I will not tell this to anybody. Okay, if you give me that promise, I'll teach you. And he said, see, the problem with you fellows is you shoot. Firstly, you draw the arrow. You draw the bullseye and then shoot the arrow. I shoot the arrow and then draw the bullseye around it. Obviously, then 100 out of 100 will be it. So this story, Swamiji puts it in the book, has put it in the Vedanta Treatise book to tell us that this is how we are leading life. With no goal. Our actions are all rajasic, not sattvic, not ideal, not generating energy, dissipating. First, intellect must pitch the goal. After thorough understanding of life, chahte kya hai? What is it that I want? Right? Do I want enjoyment or do I want happiness? Is there a difference? ये सब मुझे पता होना चाहिए. Then I fix the goal. And my mind, my actions, everything should be centered around that goal. That is called dedication. It is called devotion. That is called professionalism also. Right? So, mind surrendering to the goal means all actions surrendering. Not giving every now and then giving into my likes and dislikes. No. That devotion and discipline with which when you act, your actions gather momentum, power, generate energy. You rise above your body. Age doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. And some, what do you call, issues in the body, issues in the personal life or in the organization, these things doesn't matter. You won't see those obstacles. You won't see those obstacles in the sense you won't be talking negative and draining your energy. Because, like they say, no, in the Mahabharata, when Arjuna was asked, what are you seeing? They were all competing. And Arjuna said, I'm only seeing the eye of the bird. One fellow was seeing the entire bird. One fellow was seeing the tree, branches and everything. Arjuna was seeing only the eye, that goal. It's a focused, dedicated action. So when the intellect is exposed to the knowledge of the self, knowledge of the higher, it is able to determine a goal. And then all actions, mind, everything aligned with that goal. And then plunging into action. And while acting, intellect still plays a role. It's not that, okay, I've started acting, now my intellect can take rest. No. Intellect plays a very vital role while acting. It doesn't allow the mind to slip into the past worries, future anxieties, and without getting excited, understanding that I must poke in the wheel of life. So many factors go in determining the results. And then without excitement, I just present my case to my action. That is called objectivity. The opposite of it is involvement, which is how the unwise will act. And that will not attract. This will be attractive. So Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna, you must act like this. Do karma yoga. This is called karma yoga. Action itself is dedicated to the Lord. It's an action that is dedicated to the Lord. And Lord is what you call all-pervading in all species. So you direct your actions for the welfare of the world. So if you are evolved to a great extent, you can say self-realization is my goal. For that I am doing actions. Or you can say self-development is my goal and dedicate my actions towards that. And welfare of the world is my goal. For that I dedicate my nature, swadharma, duty, time, everything, money, everything towards that. That is called ideal action. So he says, if you do this, this is an ideal action. Now in this, what is interesting is, when you are doing this action, you are not thinking about the result, you are not thinking about anything. Just executing the action objectively. As a result, your actions won't be producing vasanas also. And the interesting thing about this is the fact that you made sure all the 3 C's were taken care of. Concentration, consistency, and cooperation. You will achieve material success. At the same time, you have not been thinking about the results, the worldly things that comes as a result out of this action. So you won't increase the vasanas. So your vasanas will also be reducing. So spiritually also you will be evolving. So karma yoga helps in you achieving materially and spiritually. This is what he says. For both material success and spiritual success, this is the formula. Even if you don't know about this is going to help you evolve spiritually, if you do it this way, this spiritual evolution will definitely happen automatically. So this is what he's saying in this. So if you, with all this, if you again chant, very easy to remember this shloka. Mayi, in me, sarvani karmani sanyasya, renounce all actions. Sarvani karmani, all actions, renounce. Renounce all actions in me. Adhyatma chetrasa. The thought should be resting on the self. And then nirashi nirmamo bhutva. Clipping the hopes, without hope and without mamatvam, ego. Yudhyasva, fight. Vigata juraha. Without mental fever, the feverish doing, excitement. That's all he says. So this is my teaching, he says. This is my teaching. Very beautifully he says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. This if you do, this teaching if you follow, what will happen? This teaching if you don't follow, what will happen? What happens to people who don't follow this teaching? That he talks about in the next shloka. And then he continues the discussion further. This is what he's saying in shloka number 30 in a nutshell, which is technique of right action or blueprint of ideal action. If we follow this, both spiritual evolution happens and material success happens. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.